Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Market Psychology 101, where we try to find value when there's fear and to be cautious where there's greed. Today, we are going to be taking a look at the Magnificent Seven stocks with one bonus stock. And we are going to start out today's video on pieinvesting.com, taking a look at the Fear and Greed Index. Overall, this year, we are still in the extreme greed area for stocks. We have formed a double top on the S&P as of now. Maybe we'll go higher, maybe we'll go lower. And overall, this is where we're at. Now, if we zoom out and take a look since before the 2008 great financial crisis, you can see that all because we are in extreme greed does not mean we have to come back down to extreme fear. As you can see, when we got to extreme greed in early 2013, we didn't get to even close to extreme fear until later 2015. So that was over 2.5 years. You never know. If I had to guess, I would think that we would get down to the extreme fear level sooner than that, but we will see. Going over to the S&P before we look at the Mag 7 stocks, as I said, it does look like the S&P is forming a double top right now. Can we expect something like this? Who knows? I know a lot of people have been talking about a possible recession coming. If that's true and we do get a correction, here's what I'm looking at. Any correction over 20%, I consider getting into that recession territory. And me personally, I start dollar cost averaging in hard should we get over that 20% mark if there's any stock that I like. When the S&P got down here in late October of 22, you can see we corrected about 25%. Great time to buy, got some good stocks back in here and after, all because the S&P went up does not mean that a lot of quality mid-cap stocks went up with it at the same rate. So you do have to look for some stocks. My rule of thumb is try to find stocks of products that you like and use, because that is giving you some insider knowledge right there. Of course, you should be taking a look at that stock's balance sheet. What is its revenue? What are their expenditures? All that sort of stuff. But here, as we use technical analysis like a trader, and I do want to keep this channel open for new investors and people looking to dip their toes into investing. So if you're new and you're looking at ways to give yourself an edge on the market above just dollar cost averaging in every single month, I'm going to show you some ways that I try to find more value so I can dynamically dollar cost average, which means I put in more when we get these dips, as a way to increase overall value in my investments. So if we corrected above 25%, which was that low in late October, let's look at 30%. As you can see, 30% was this point right before the sell-off for the COVID crash. And there's a lot of structure there too. And then we had the stimulus money and we mooned, but 30% would put us right there. What about 35%? Is there anything significant about that? Some structure. I would say 25% for a correction would seem like a strong possibility. 30%, 40% would also be a strong possibility because there's a lot of structure back here. And if we had a giant recession, a 50% correction in the markets, which is possible, you never know, we would be down near these COVID lows, as well as this low that happened before COVID. So that, to me, would be the worst case scenario. If we were down 50% anywhere near here, I would be dynamically dollar cost averaging in very, very hard. Let's take a look at the Mag 7 stocks. We're going to start off with Tesla. Now, full transparency, I am not a huge fan on Tesla. I do think if and when we go into our next recession, whenever that is, Tesla, in my opinion, would be the stock that would sell off the most. And my logic behind this is simple. When you take a look at Tesla's market cap, right now it's around 700 billion. It used to be around 800 billion when it was higher. I mean, look at that. We used to be up to 300 if you zoom out. We used to be up over 400. So this thing used to be a lot higher. It's at 700. This company, Tesla, has half the revenue as Ford. And Ford has a market cap of 40 billion. So you got to ask yourself, is Tesla worth, how much would that be? About 20 times more, 18, 17 times more? Does Tesla deserve a market cap that's 17 times higher? Now, you look at Ford and their stock, for some reason, it looks very manipulated. Nothing I would go into long term. Yes, we are investing with the forward thinking mindset if you are into Tesla. So maybe you do believe it can go up to 1, 2, 3 trillion, so like something such as Apple. But being an automotive company, I have my doubts. So just something to keep in mind. But anyways, as I take a look at stocks, I take a look at the last year and I see where we are at. We've been as high as 300 and we've taken a drawdown about 26%. So if you do believe in Tesla, not the worst time to buy. I do like when the RSI is low. That's not to say that it can't go lower. All because we get oversold on the relative strength index does not mean it can go lower from here. As you can see, when we've been oversold, we have been at this level. If this was a stock that I believed in, let's say this was a chart for something like Amazon or Garmin or Costco, you better believe it, I would be buying in here. So if you believe in Tesla, I don't think that's the worst. If we take a look at the weekly, it still looks like we're relatively elevated. However, we've been chopping around at this level since December of 2020. Yes, we've gone up higher. Yes, we've gone down as low as practically 100. That was late 2022, early 2023, when everything was dipping. But we've been around here for, what would that be, 3 years? So maybe we are in an accumulation phase before shooting up. Who knows? If you believe in Tesla, not the worst time. Does seem to have a lot of structure here. But let's move on to Apple. Apple has the highest value of any stock in the world, right around 3 trillion. It's been at 3 trillion before. And so we're going to take a look over the last year. And yes, we had that climb into July. That was a strong move. And since July, we've gone down. This would have been a great time to buy. I mean, look at that. On the daily, when we've hit the oversold area of the RSI, we did get a little lower, but as we've become oversold again, we are higher. So I do think this is showing that overall it does have bullish momentum. But from the very top, which was over here, we had a drawdown about 10%. Apple is the strongest stock in the world. Anytime it gets a drawdown of 10%, you need to be asking yourself, might this be a time worth considering dollar cost averaging in a bit more? As you can see, this level, at the earliest we were there in late 2021 and we finally gotten back. So again, it's been a couple of years and who knows? We'll see what can happen. Can it get back down to this $130 to $150 range? Sure, but who knows? Let's take a look at, let's pull up a buy-sell indicator. On the weekly, we did get a sell. Now, these things can chop up and down, but maybe we have a bit further down to go. And I would be looking for something around the 150 range as a possibility to buy. And something else to consider with Apple, anytime we've been under the 50 for the RSI, has not been the worst time to buy overall. Sure, you could have bought it here, and you would have had to wait a while for your profits. But if you would have bought when we were very oversold, those would have been very strong times to buy. But yes, we'll see. Let's move on to NVDA. NVIDIA, one of my favorite stocks. Let's start out with the last year, and we are at a yearly high. So I would not be taking a look at buying into NVIDIA right now, personally. If we go to the weekly and zoom out a little bit, this was late 22. Great time to buy NVIDIA. Some people are thinking it goes up to 600. We'll see. But if we throw on an indicator, let's do the 1020 MA crossover with Fibonacci signals. I do like this one. And there was some sell, some buy, some sell. So it's still chopping around here. Most recently got a buy. Maybe it's going to go up a little bit more. I think that's all I got to say about NVIDIA right now. Where's its market cap? 1.3 trillion. I do think this can go a lot higher. I like NVIDIA for the long term. If there was a market correction, a crash, sure, of course, everything would go down. And if this one went down big, and it's been running for a while since here, I mean, look at this. How much have we gone up from that low to the high? 410%. That's pretty awesome. So we've done very well for ourselves. If it had a correction, sure, I could see it maybe getting down to this, maybe in this zone here, the 200 to 250 zone, if there was a big correction. After NVIDIA, let's take a look at Microsoft. This looks very similar to NVIDIA. So I think everything I said about NVIDIA, at least technical wise, true for Microsoft. One big difference though, Microsoft does have a larger market cap, and it's right there with Apple. And looking at this now, is this higher than Apple? 2.887 trillion? I'm just curious because Apple's been on top for a while. 2.887. It's close. Apple's still in the lead, but Microsoft is nipping at its heels for the number one stock in the world. I just realized that right now. So Microsoft, again, having a very strong move since back here in late 22. If we try to get that as close as we can, this one's gone up nicely. So it's gone up twice. And something to remember, guys, for any of you new investors, the higher the market cap, the less likely it's going to be that you're going to get as many multiples of gains in the short term. I know that's something that we see happen with people who are in crypto. All of a sudden they throw in $1,000 and they get 100x and they get 100K. And of course that would be lovely to have. And that's really hard to get. The thing that's nice about these stocks like Microsoft, like Apple, and all those is they tend to be overall high they tend to be high ROIC stocks. And ROIC stocks are return on investment capital stocks. Those stocks, the really good ones, the top 10 ones, overall tend to outperform the S&P by about double over a long period of time. So a lot of people, if they invest, generally speaking, will make on average with the S&P 10% year after year after year. And of course, you compound and you make nice money. If you stick more with ROIC stocks, again, return on investment capital stocks, those tend to double the performance of just other stocks in general. That might be 10%. So if you ever hear Warren Buffett, Charlie Munger talk, they're usually talking about those ROIC stocks. So even though the market cap's really high, and even though you might not get as many multiples in the short term, these stocks are still wonderful. Anytime they dip really big, should we get a recession and this one dips to somewhere in the 250 range, you should really be considering very hard about buying stocks like Microsoft, like Apple for the long term. They are wonderful. They have large moats. If you look at their balance sheets, these stocks are not going, they are the least likely to go under. I shouldn't say they can't go under, but they are the least likely to go under. After Microsoft, Amazon. Love Amazon, use Amazon. If we take a look at the last year, we can see that at least with the daily RSI, when we look at the last year, it does go to the daily. It's relatively high, and it is near or pretty much at the yearly high. So I would not be looking to get in right now. Sorry for my phone notifications. If we look at the last 5 years, look at this. I'm still kicking myself for not getting more Amazon back here. I was waiting for it to get under 80. I thought it was going to dip in the high 70s and never did. That was such a great time to buy. If any time, a great stock like Amazon is over 50% down, don't be like me. Don't wait for it to get under some sort of psychological level, because that never happened. I did get into other stocks, and my stock portfolio this year has done very well. However, I should have gotten more into this stock, so please learn from my mistakes. Amazon, overall, looking very good. It's on its way up. I would not buy into it right now. If we set our buy sell signal alerts and go to the weekly, most recently, which one? We have a buy signal, so it does look like we can go further up. As you guys can see, sometimes it can chop around. The monthly signal, it's much more infrequent, and overall, when we get a monthly buy signal, that tends to be a very, very strong indicator. Sure, there's this one time here that wasn't. Again, I'm not trying to promote trading here on this channel, and so, of course, sell when you want to sell, but buying here so short after a sell signal, you would have until today still been in the red, and that was April of 21. So you would have almost had to wait 3 years just to return to even from there. Otherwise, overall, that has been a very strong signal. Let's go to the next one. Meta has shot up since the late 2022 dip. It's doing wonderful. And back here, they were spending a lot of money on R&D, and so their stock really tanked, and now it has formed a double top. What's Meta's market cap? A little under 1 trillion. We'll see how the metaverse develops, if all that R&D is going to pay off. It has had a nice profit from the low to the high, about 320%, so that's pretty good. Well, let's take a look at the last year and get rid of this indicator. Last year, we're at a yearly high, so I'm not looking to buy, and it's overbought. So I think be patient with Meta. Look to see when it's at least under the 50 for the daily RSI. If we go to the weekly, which is an even stronger indicator, this is where I say time in the market is more important than timing the market. All because we're under the 50, like we were up here, does not mean you should not just purely buy based off the RSI. Sometimes it works out, other times it doesn't. When we were oversold, though, look, we were less oversold here, but the price was coming down. However, this was showing a reversal was possible. So here, I like when we are double, triple, quadruple tapping the oversold area of the RSI. It's really tricky to buy these without thinking that maybe possibly you're buying a falling knife. However, as a value-minded investor, anytime we're going down near 40%, if you like that stock and you use that company and you like their product, it's worth buying in. Even if it eventually gets back to that price, buying more over here isn't the word. Buying more over here is not the word strategy. So there we have it for Meta. Actually, let me take one more look at Meta. Let's take a look at, see if we have any recent buy or sell signals. Most recently a buy. So that is what we have for Meta. And again, please stick around for a bonus stock that I'm going to look at for you guys. And then the last Magnificent 7 stock, we have Google. And Google, this is how I like to start. Take a look at the last year. We're at a yearly high, so I'm not buying. We're a bit overbought. I do think it can possibly get even higher. It has a market cap of 1.8 trillion over the past 5 years. As it switches us over to weekly, the RSI does seem to be possibly going down here in the weekly compared to the daily. The daily is going up, the weekly going down. So maybe there's some more macro movement to the possibly to the downside. If we get under 50, look how rare it is to be under 50. You might want to consider starting to dollar cost average. But again, all because we get under 50 does not mean on the R side doesn't mean that we can't get lower. I like when we're double, triple tapping and you want to make sure that you dynamically dollar cost average. Again, not financial advice, but something I would do is dynamically dollar cost average, because should we get down to these levels, I mean, look at that 30%. It's not the worst, not the worst time to buy. Of course, as it gets lower, you have to stay committed. And if it's getting over 40%, near 50%, something to consider. We never truly know when the bottom is. But as I've said, we try to increase our time in the market. So these moves do pay off more in the long run, whether it's here. Let me start drawing. Whether we are buying, oh my gosh, what is going on? Whether we are buying here, whether we are buying here. Of course, this would be wonderful if we're buying here. We could see a higher low, stronger time to buy, buying here. All those times would be returning really good value. We never truly know. Last stock we are going to take a look at today is, let me get rid of these, and they're not going away. Great. Last stock we're going to take a look at today is Boeing, because Boeing's been in the news. And so I've been wondering, is Boeing possibly a good value stock right now, because there's been a lot of FUD in the news. Here's the 2020 crash. It's put us on the weekly for Boeing. What's Boeing's market cap? 132 billion, roughly. Of course, this was the COVID crash, and we were at 90. We are over double that as far as right now. Let's just take a look at the yearly. We got down really low back here in October, really low, and have just ridden this wave up. So now we are having a correction. Of course, that door of the plane, or the panel, mind you, fell off at the worst possible moment as it's in a downtrend. We are hitting that oversold area, the RSI. Is it just going to come back up? Maybe. But here, I do like when within a year we are double tapping the oversold area of the RSI. If you like Boeing, not the worst time to buy. If you like flying, I mean, look, we're down 20% on a very, very strong stock. We're down near 20%, so I don't think that's the worst. Can it go lower? Probably. If I had to guess, I think it would go lower. Let's take a look at some buy-sell signals and go to the weekly. And yeah, look at that. Most recently, we got a sell. And so maybe you're going to want to wait for a buy signal. This is on the weekly. I mean, look at how long we spent down here on the weekly. We were just chopping around, buy, sell, and then COVID crash. You can see we were slowly going down on the relative strength. So it did seem like a big move down was coming, and then boosh, there it went. Again, right here, slowly going over. It's kind of funny how Boeing's repeated this pattern a couple times. Right here, slowly going over, and then all of a sudden we went way up for some reason. Boeing looks to be more volatile than most stocks I've seen. So can it get lower? My money is on yes, it could. However, if it is a stock you like, overall within the last year, it's not in the worst place. But maybe I just wanted to look at that with you guys, because I know Boeing's been in the news. And as we say here at Market Psychology, we want to look for value when there's fear. There's fear surrounding Boeing. A lot of people are hating on Boeing right now. They have problems with that one model of airplane. It's just had constant issues. So those can create good opportunities to buy for the long term. Again, this should be, I would encourage people to buy in the stocks that you like, stocks that you use. I like flying. I'm into aviation, and I think Boeing overall has great products. I do think they will get it right in the long term. Sounds like they have some things to fix. But right now, there's a lot of FUD out there about Boeing. So I do think that possibly could be creating some long term strong areas to buy. I don't think Boeing is going to go away anytime soon. During this video, probably should have pulled up the balance sheet of Boeing to take a look at what their profits have been, what their expenditures have been. Here, let me just type it in on my phone quick. Boeing company revenue. Let's see if I can get anything here. Revenue, does it show me yearly? No, I'm not getting anything quick. Sorry, guys. I'm taking a look at this for the first time. Annual revenue for Boeing was $62 billion for 2021. Does it have anything for 2023? Boeing revenue looks to be around $18 billion for 2023, and losses $808 million. So that's just what I'm seeing right now. Loss from operations. Boeing expenditures. You can hear me typing on my phone. Let's see, research and development, Boeing expenditures was about $3 billion, is what I'm just reading here real quick. So it does look like they still were in the profit. Again, if you are going to look at stocks, I do recommend going on some websites that can help you maybe do really good research. I'm trying to think of one right now. There's an app called Simply Wall Street. That's a good one. Let me pull it up here. Simply Wall Street. Simply Wall Street is a good app where you can take a look at stocks and see what the balance sheet looks like. So shout out Simply Wall Street. I'm not sponsored by anyone, but this is a website I use a lot. So that's all I got for the Magnificent 7 stocks plus Boeing today. Hope that was helpful to you guys. Hope you enjoyed these videos. Of course, remember, none of this is financial advice. This is just my opinion. I do try to use my knowledge and experience from the field of psychology with investing, and overall that has helped me a lot just by trying to look for opportunities and to be greedy when others are fearful, as Warren Buffett says, and to be cautious when others are greedy. As we've been greedy in the markets, I've used that time to pay down bills, things I've been financing, stuff like that, and not put in extra money into investments when the market's peaking. Still, it's good to consult with a financial advisor, look at safer places. This is just for me, stocks and crypto investing, that's extra money, that's play money, money that I am looking to make profit on long term. And anytime it gets to stocks, or especially crypto, it's really, we're educated gambling here. And if we can give ourselves an edge long term in any way we can, that's why I say make sure you are looking for products you like, products you use. That is the best way to get insider information, because let's say there's a store of a company that you like and use, something, maybe you remember Bed Bath & Beyond, and you're just seeing empty stores and problems, and that can give you an indication like maybe this is a company, a stock not worth investing into. So there are signs out there for you to see whether or not a company is headed in the right direction. So hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Enjoy your cold weekend. God bless.